Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching Cairo Local Time. And in this part of the program, we are going to talk about promoting urban agriculture and rooftop gardening. As we have today our guest, Mr. Abdullah Tawfiq, co-founder of Urban Greens Egypt, and he will tell us how can we do this and garden our rooftops. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So, Mr. Abdullah, first, can you tell us more about the idea of rooftop gardening and to what extent it had gained popularity?
Rooftop farming is a very old idea. It's actually since the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, so it's not an idea that has been developed recently. But modern cities worldwide has started to develop this concept because of the increasing rate of urbanization, and cities nowadays, more than half of the world population lives in cities.
Yes.
And cities are concrete jungles that require more greenery and more connection to nature. So that's why modern cities nowadays are starting to implement smart ideas to utilize empty spaces within the boundaries of the cities to start planting. So the roofs is one of the most underutilized spaces in any urban footprint. Roofs in general represent around 30 to 40% of any urban footprint, which is usually gray concrete slabs that are not utilized at all.
Yes. So, Mr. Abdullah, what are the general benefits of rooftop gardening?
Rooftop gardening is a strategy that is multi-beneficial. When you put a green roof, then you provide an aesthetic value for your building, because as all of us see in Cairo, that most of our roofs are not utilized, so it provides you with a very pleasing view of green spaces, which increase the value of the property that you have. This is also one of the important aspects, and we live in a very I think stressful and very harsh environment that we try as much as we can to be connected to nature.
Yes.
So green roofs also provide this kind of connection to nature. The environmental benefit of green roofs is very high, decreasing urban heat island effect, which is basically the difference in temperatures between the cities and the rural areas. You always find difference in temperatures. Between the city and the rural areas. This is the urban heat island effect. And when we plant more trees and green areas, this adds to the decreasing the urban heat island effect.
Yes.
And so green roofs, when I plant my roof, this provides me with a very good environmental benefit. Also, insulation. Green roofs provide a very good layer of insulation for the roofs.
From the heat.
Exactly, which decreases the amount of heat that goes inside the buildings, which eventually decreases the use of AC, which eventually decreases the energy that you use. So in this case, green roofs can have a very good benefit. Yes. Also, we can connect green roofs to food production. So instead of just providing a green roof that is for aesthetic value or just normal plants, we can also plant productive food that can be of a very good benefit for us. So this is the main general benefits of green roofs that most of the people usually don't know about.
So does rooftop gardening usually require high technology?
Previously, yes, but recently there has been a lot of new techniques and new approaches that depends on local materials. And one of them is hydroponics, which is soilless agriculture. We will talk about this maybe in a minute. But usually green roofs can utilize any type of materials that are available around you. You can use, you can recycle what you have. You can reuse wood. You can reuse tires. So usually, no, you can utilize whatever you have around you, and you can plant your roof using less amount of resources.
So we have here some pictures displayed to the project and your startup. So if you want to elaborate to our audience, what are these pictures describing?
This is a project that was implemented when I was working at the American University in Cairo, and this project was funded by the German international cooperation. This project was to implement 5 rooftop gardens in the area of Mataraya.
Yes.
The aim of this project was to promote the idea of rooftop gardening, especially for the youth and the people and the students in the schools. So as you can see, we tried as much as we can to simplify the techniques, use things that are available around us.
Yes.
So as you can see, we used blue barrels, plastic barrels, and we also want to promote the concept of reduce, reuse, and recycle. So we don't purchase new barrels, we purchase already used barrels, we cut them in half, and we clean them properly, and we use a PVC pipe to create a stand. So you can easily create a system with the least amount of money. And we have also utilized the walls to build using PVC pipes on the top of the...
So we were talking about the hydroponic planting. So can you tell us more about it?
Hydroponics is the future of agriculture all over the world. Hydroponic is a Greek word. It stands for hydro is water and pono is a Greek word for works, so it's water works. So it's basically planting in water. So it's a soilless agriculture technique. It has lots of benefits compared to normal agriculture practices. Mainly you can grow anywhere. So you are usually elevated from the ground. You don't need soil. So you are elevated from the ground. So this is one of the very good benefits. You can grow on your roof, you can grow on your balcony. Even if you have a desert land, you can grow at the desert with this kind of techniques. The second important point is water efficiency. The systems, the hydroponic systems, usually utilize water 90 to 95% less compared to normal agriculture activities. And in this case, this is very important in the context of water efficiency in Egypt, because what I think is that 85% of our natural water resources are used for agriculture.
Yes.
So we have to be careful with the use of water in our practices. So I think promoting an idea like hydroponics that saves lots of water is very important. So water efficiency is important. Also production per meter square. The yielding capacity of a hydroponic system per meter square is 5 times, or sometimes it reaches to 10 times compared to normal agriculture practices.
Yes. Also, tell us more about the types of plants that we can grow on the roof.
On the roof, basically you can grow almost anything that, especially if you're using a hydroponic system, anything that does not grow in trees.
Yes.
So this is the basic rule. So almost all types of vegetables. Hydroponics are very good for leafy crops. By leafy crops, I mean lettuce, all types of lettuce, all types of cabbages, kale, Swiss chard, spinach. All kinds of vegetables can grow very well on this type of systems. Also medicinal herbs and any kind of other herbs as well that you usually use in our kitchen. Mint, basil, rosemary. These types of herbs are usually very good and works well in a hydroponic system. Also vine crops, we have tested some vine crops like tomatoes, peppers and eggplants, and it works very well in the hydroponic system. So basically you can grow any types of vegetables and some fruits on your roof utilizing this kind of systems.
So why do you think that rooftop gardening is important to be applied here in Cairo?
Cairo is the second biggest city in Africa. I would say that 40% of buildings of Egypt are concentrated in Cairo, and this is a very big percentage. And the thing is, what's happening right now is that Cairo is not only expanding in the east and the west, like New Cairo and 6th of October, but there is a new patterns of urban agglomerations that are found on the existing agriculture lands on the peripheries of Cairo. So when you go to the north and you compare images, satellite images of Egypt in the 70s compared to today, you will find that there has been lots of encroachment on existing agriculture land. So this kind of what is happening when it comes to the food are going away or is going far away from our center of Cairo, it requires us to find smart and sustainable and easy ideas to start and provide us with food within the boundaries of our city. So I think rooftop farming is very important for Cairo also because most of our roofs are not utilized. We have people usually throw lots of waste on the roof, so they don't use it. So also we want to try and beautify our roofs so that it looks better, and this is like an unused space that we try as much as we can to improve.
So in your opinion, how can we encourage people to apply this idea? What is your advice to them?
This is a very good question. I think when we started our startup,
yes,
and we wanted to encourage the people to do that, we faced an issue with awareness.
Yes.
So I think people has first to understand, why should I plant my roof? What are the benefits that can come to me when I plant the roof? So just trying as much as we can to talk to people, participate in campaigns that promote the concept and encourage people to build green roofs. So we try, this is one of the arms of our startup, is awareness and education. We try as much as we can to talk to students, the youth, because we think that this is how the idea can...
you told me that you were trying to apply this in schools.
Exactly.
Not only buildings.
Exactly. One of the projects that I have implemented with the AUC is on the roof of schools, because if we try to adapt this idea to the youth, then this idea later on will be expanded, and later on we'll find new entrepreneurs that can create new ideas and innovative ideas that also benefit rooftop gardening in Egypt.
So when you talk to people about this idea, do you think that they accept it and they are willing to cooperate with you, or they need more awareness? Still, we need to talk to them more.
I think if we try as much as we can to connect this idea with food production, which is a value that people really is looking forward to, I think this idea will spread as fast as it can. So usually if you try and communicate this idea with people who may have different issues and they don't think that the green roof is one of their priorities, then I think the idea will not gain popularity. So trying and connecting it to something that really touches the people and benefit the people one way or another, then I guess if we try to connect this to food production, this is the main scope of what we do. So we try to let people understand that it's not only for aesthetic value, or you cannot only plant flowers, but you can also produce food. And this food, if you produce it, it is very good for your health because you are the one planting it. So you...
Yes, I agree with you, but still I think that people will need to be trained to how to take care of this, not only planting, but after you plant, you need to take care of what you plant.
Of course. This is a very good question. In the project that I have implemented in the schools in Motareya, we have some teachers that had the basic agriculture knowledge. So we wanted to reinforce this kind of knowledge. So we trained the teachers on how to implement, on how to take care of the systems, on how to plant. Of course, education is very important for sustainability of such projects.
Yes.
So training is very important, is a very important aspect. So in this case, we have trained the teachers. So the teachers now has a background on how to pass this knowledge to the future generation. And we have also created small booklets. We call it the best practices manual. And this booklet contains all the techniques that we have implemented on the roofs and all the ideas that we have done, all type of technical and agriculture.
So when you plant, when you help someone to plant his roof, you give him this booklet and to keep it with him to know how to follow up the process of agriculture.
Exactly. The 5 locations that we have implemented the project at, we give them copies of this booklet, and we have also tried to spread the idea not only in those 5 locations. So we had a collaboration with the educational directorate of El Motareya, and we gave them some copies, and we told them if there is any kind of agriculture activity in the school, then you can teach the students using those booklets.
And why did you choose Matareya as a first location? Or it's by chance?
No, it's not by chance. It is part of the focus area of the German International Cooperation.
Yes, okay.
So the German International Cooperation works on different focus areas in informal settlements in Cairo, and Matareya was one of them.
Yes.
So that's why we worked there.
Yes. What are the services that Urban Greens Egypt provide?
As I told you, Urban Greens
Yes.
Egypt works on 3 pillars, or provide 3 services. First is rooftop gardening consultancies.
Yes.
So we basically, if you have a roof space that you don't utilize, or
Yes.
a small balcony, or even a piece of land on the outside of Cairo, and you want to start this kind of hydroponic or agriculture activity using this kind of techniques, then we provide you with this kind of service. So this is basic consultancy. Also, the second arm, as I told you, is awareness and education. So we try to reach as much schools as we can. We try to talk to the students. We try to provide them with theoretical and practical sessions. We have had some practical sessions on our roofs where students can come, because students need to see what has been done. It's not only about a presentation, but they have to practice and they have to connect the systems so that they can grasp the idea from their mind. So the second arm is awareness and education. The third arm is corporate social responsibility. So we try as much as we can to collaborate with civil society organizations, with any kind of community-based organization that wants to implement those kinds of projects for the sake of community development. So we had previous collaboration with the Egyptian Food Bank. So we had in our roofs, we had some surplus of produce, which is food, which is very good. So we had this kind of collaboration with the food bank where we can give them the surpluses of food for the communities in need.
Yes. So, Abdullah, what is your future plans? And what is your coming step in this regard?
As I told you, my future is to try and reach as much roofs as I can.
Yes.
So I'm trying as much as I can to talk to people, to raise awareness, to reach as much people with the idea and try to promote for the concept. So maybe we have this plan, me and my partner, is that by 2022 we can reach at least 100 rooftop garden, at least.
How long does it take you to plant a roof?
It depends on the surface area.
Yes.
But it's usually some of the photos that has been presented here, usually it takes 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 working days, if it is a big scale. But if you're talking about a roof that is
100 meters.
100 meters square, for example, it usually takes you around, maybe if you have good technicians, then maybe a day, 1 day, you can easily set up everything. If you have all the materials ready, of course, not from scratch. You should first...
Are you the one who bring the materials, or you tell the owners to bring them to you?
So that I do not confuse you, the steps in order to do a rooftop garden is first we have to check the roof. So we have a checklist whenever someone calls us and tell us we want to plant our roof.
Yes.
We go on the roof and we have technical checklist on the safety of the roof, because of course if you want to do a planting activity, you have to have a safe space. Solar exposure is very important, because if you want to plant the plants, they always need the sun. Water availability and drainage availability, because you're dealing with water, so you have to have an access for the water, and the water has to be drained. So we have to make sure that these are available on the roof.
So usually rooftop building is safe for any building, or maybe it is a threat?
This is also a very good point. I think some points that we usually stress on is the insulation of the roof and the load bearing of the roof slab itself. So we have to make sure that the roof is safe. We talk to the engineers that are responsible, or the people who works there, who live there, and we tell them that, are you sure that your roof is insulated? Normally the systems are not heavy, because we don't use soil. We use substrate or growing media, which is lighter in weight compared to the soil itself. So in terms of weight, the systems are not very heavy, but still we have to make sure that the roof is properly insulated, because we don't want any type of leaks that can affect the people living down there. So so the technical parts is very important. We first to make sure that the space is
Yes.
available or good for planting. The second is that we create a design. So people get confused, where should I put my planters, where should I sit? If I want to design a seating area for me and my family, where can I do it? So we also provide this service. We draw a 3D drawings, 3D models for the rooftop garden that we imagine, and we communicate with the client, and we ask them if this is good for you, and in this case we start the implementation.
So, Abdullah, you told me that you are an architecture in the first place. So why did you choose to change your career and to work in agriculture?
This is a long story. I graduated from Cairo University, Department of Architecture.
Yes.
And I worked for almost 6 years in normal architecture consultancy.
Yes.
When I decided that I don't like it, it's not what I
I want the youths to hear your story and to know that they shouldn't be stuck to their certificate and their studies, and there's always a way to change and to start to do something new, especially if it is successful. So
I always believe it's never too late.
yes.
So whenever you have the idea and whenever you believe in something, then don't stop doing it. So for me, I found out that I really don't enjoy normal architectural consultancy. So it took me like a transitional period to come up with what I want to do for my next steps. So I traveled to Germany. I did my master's degree in resource efficiency in architecture and planning. My master thesis focused on rooftop gardening. That's how I got connected to what I'm doing
So
right
this
now.
idea attracted you?
Exactly. Actually, the story of how why did I decide to work on rooftop gardening was very spontaneous, I would say. I was doing my thesis, and the aim of the topic of the thesis was to try to find green spaces for the people living in Mbaba. And the urban pattern was very dense, and there was no spaces in the streets to do green areas. So I was walking around with my professor in Mbaba, and I told him there is no space to put green areas. And then I thought, why we don't put it on the roof? So this is how the idea started, like the beginning of the idea. And then it took me some time, of course, to finalize my thesis and present it in Germany. And then there was this connection between theory and practice, because I spent almost a year trying and studying and reading papers and documents about rooftop gardening. And there is always a gap between theory and practice. And if you're living in a country, you have to understand what's going on with this country, with the social aspect, with the people, so that you can implement proper interventions.
Yes.
So it took me around 2 years practicing urban agriculture. I worked at the American University in Cairo implementing this kind of projects. And in the first, it was totally different than what I have studied.
Yes.
And then it took me some time to adapt it and then to develop more ideas.
So finally, I'd like to thank you, Abdullah Tawfiq, co-founder of Urban Greens Egypt, and I hope you all success. And by that, dear viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of Cairo Local Time. Stay tuned for more is coming up on 98 International.